Minister, thank you very much for your attention here today. To cut to the chase, I don't see the ambition, the commitment or the passion for the full inclusion of children and people with disabilities and special needs in this strategy statement. That's my assessment of it. This statement has chosen not to reference people with disabilities as a key priority, in spite of a programme for government commitment to ratify the UN Convention, or indeed to mention or reference or footnote Article 24 of that convention. The Minister, you're talking about having a high ambition. I don't know that you could have much of a higher ambition, certainly for children and young people with disabilities and special needs, than to actually reference Article 44 of the convention and to use it as a standard bearer. There's no setting out of the level of disadvantage across these children and families in order to underline and to give urgency to this work. And let me just raise a few, give some examples of this. A quarter of children in Ireland, have some form of disability. Children with disabilities are more likely to come from socioeconomically disadvantaged backgrounds. This creates a double disadvantage, as those with disabilities, coupled with their lower socioeconomic stratas, are more likely to be at the bottom rung, to be placed in special school settings, to be outside the mainstream and whatever. In the first quarter of 2015, just 39% of applications for assessment of need were completed within the required time frame. Many parents are forced to pay for private assessments to support applications for additional resources. Parents that can't afford to pay for private diagnosis for the children are getting less resource hours in their schools. 43% of people with disabilities have not progressed beyond primary education, and that compares with 19% for others. So that's an outline of some of the very hard facts. I'm not making these up. These are coming from a range of reputable reports. The strategy does acknowledge that there are significant areas in the EPSAN Act. The EPSAN Act that was passed by these two houses in 2004 that still haven't been enacted, or that had the hold button pressed on them. So that full implementation of the EPSAN Act is necessary. Technology is a fascinating potential to support students with disabilities to overcome barriers. There are still key challenges there. One of the things that did really surprise me in the report, and I use the term bizarre, there are repeated references to children with one area of disability, and it is an area that needs support. Why is that when there isn't any references then to children with autism, Asperger's, Friedreich's ataxia, muscular dystrophy, EB, arthritis, spina bifida, hydrocephalus, mental health, deaf, hard of hearing, or whatever? Like, if there is ambition, it has to be ambition for all the children. And the plan seems to have somehow run down the road of picking one group. And I think that really shows the flaws that are in it. I've no doubt it's well-meaning, but it is flawed. At the very start, and I'm coming to a conclusion here, look at the commencement, it was heartening to Minister to hear you talk about the twin objectives or government challenges that are there. One is employment, absolutely, and you'll certainly know from your last posting in that area, you didn't hear too much about disabled people becoming redundant for the very simple reason they were never in jobs. So education is an absolute pillar, as you've already said, in relation to people being able to advance, and employment is key to that. And so it is absolutely critical that the education piece gets on with it, and gets on with it smartly. The whole area of a fair society, breaking the cycle of disadvantage. So what I really want to just ask you then, as I'm finishing up, why did you not reference Article 24 of the UN Convention, given that it's implied in the programme for government?
Okay, thank you, Senator.
Did that really give you, and did your officials take the opportunity to read and study that? So I want to know Will your department on a continual basis dance to that tune now? And you have mentioned that you'll be updating on an annual basis. So
okay, Senator, you're eating into the time.